Cleveland, welcome into the office, the show where we talk all things sports. I'm your host, Noah, joined by my co-hosts, John and Eric. I could give you the whole spiel. You all know why we're here right now. I'm wearing the shirt to match it. Myles Garrett requests a trade from the Cleveland Browns. Feel free to join us, talk about it. This is an emergency board meeting, boys. I'd ask you how you're doing, but I think I already know the answer.
Yeah. that sums that up pretty well, honestly.
I think, I don't know if I'm going to take a glass half full approach, but my glass is probably fuller than the two of you, but it's still not a good day. I mean, I don't want him to go, that's for sure.
As the resident guy that months ago said we should trade him and get as much as we can because he's not doing anything for us in terms of on the field. Like, obviously he's amazing, but he can't win it by himself is what I mean. To have it put back against the organization and be so dysfunctional that he's requesting it just hurts in a different way.
It does.
It absolutely hurts. John, I want to get into it and we can debate, but John, first I'm going to have you read the letter Myles put out there just to give us a good basing and we'll go from there.
Yeah, he said that as a kid dreaming of the NFL, all I focused on was the ultimate goal of winning a Super Bowl, and that goal fuels me today more than ever. My love for the community of Northeast Ohio and the incredible fan base of the Cleveland Browns has made this one of the toughest decisions of my life. These past 8 years have shaped me into the man that I am today. While I've loved calling the city my home, my desire to win and compete on the biggest stages won't allow me to be complacent. The goal was never to go from Cleveland to Canton. It has always been to compete for and win a Super Bowl. With that in mind, I have requested to be traded from the Cleveland Browns. Now, the first thing I want to react to just right off the letter is I try to be the person that I say I should be in the past. When LeBron did the decision, we all said, there's a right way and wrong way to do this. And if he would have just XYZ, we'd have felt better. He did that. This is way better than the decision. He wanted to win a title. He said he loved Northeast Ohio. He left on a good note. I'm hoping that it's not just outright rage from Browns fans, because if you're somebody who wants to compete for a Super Bowl and you won 3 games this year, at the surface level, I get it.
Yeah, and I haven't seen anything from Browns fans that would suggest that they're in any way mad at Myles. I think they're thankful for his time here. We know that he loves the fans. I mean, he does plenty of events with fans that he doesn't have to do.
Shout out the Dungeons and Dragons in the basement of Southern Tier Brewery every summer, I think it's August he does that. Yeah, I'm with you.
Dungeons and Dragons, dog events. I love the little shot at Andrew Berry, though, in the letter. I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
The Cleveland to Canton line, I think, directly points at exactly who he's frustrated with in this whole thing. I don't think it points to Kevin Stefanski as much as people might want it to be. I don't think it points even to the Haslams. The fact that a week ago, this time last week, Andrew Berry said the goal is to have him go from Cleveland to Canton, and he used that same exact line in his letter released by the biggest news leaker in all of sports, especially with football. That should tell you everything you need to know right there, man.
I think we should put in perspective a little bit, because weeks ago we heard rumblings that unless things were turned around, Myles could request a trade kind of thing. I think what happened was, and I have no inside information here, but I think what happened is that Myles did in fact request a trade. they told him flat out, no, you're part of our future plans. We're not trading you. And he then had to come public, which is what we're seeing now. And I think Barry made those comments after he already requested the trade, hence him kind of throwing it back in Barry's face a little bit.
It's interesting, and I want to know more of your thoughts and takes. We do have to fit in an ad break during this show, so I want to get it out of the way quick, early, and often so we could come back and just hash it out for as long as we feel we need to. You're listening to At the Office. We'll be right back talking about Myles Garrett requesting a trade from the Cleveland Browns after these commercial messages. And we're back at the office talking about Myles Garrett requesting a trade from the Cleveland Browns. This has been a frustrating day, to say the very least, for us as fans of the teams. Again, I am wearing my Brownie the Elf with a paper bag shirt over his head for a reason. Guys, I can go through all the reads and stuff. I don't have it in me right now. I want to ask you guys this. Do you think there's any validity in the claims of the Cleveland Browns saying that they are not going to trade Myles Garrett? Because to me, I think it is only a matter of time at this point. Erik, I'll let you open this up.
I think what they say. Here's the thing. The players have a lot of power these days. It's not like the old days. You and I, Noah, talked earlier today about Kobe wanting out and the Lakers being like, not a chance. You're not going anywhere. And he shut up and won some more championships with them. But that's not how things work anymore. Myles is a beloved figure in Cleveland. All of us as a fandom understand why he wants out. They accept that. And we're kind of like, hey, it sucks, but go chase your ring kind of thing. If the Browns were to decide we're not trading you, we're going against your wishes, one, it's dumb because you're keeping a player here that doesn't want to be here when you could get so much more back in return for it. And two, I think it would be a PR nightmare in that fans would go, once again, you're going to screw over our star player, and for what? Just so we can have some more losses with this team? I don't see it as being feasible.
I don't think
I
it's
want
feasible.
to play devil's advocate for a second here, John. I'll let you go in a second. I'm sorry. But this front office has actually had a situation where they had a player request a trade and they denied it. David Njoku did request a trade from the Cleveland Browns about 2 or 3 years ago. So towards the front end of this Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski brain trust. And they have made it work to the point where obviously he is the star tight end right now for the Browns.
Yeah, I think there's a triangle in my mind too. I'm in sales and I always tell people you can have it good, you can have it fast, you can have it cheap. You get to pick two, but you can't do all three. I think there's a triangle here too that comes down to the organization stature, the player stature, and money. The New England Patriots with Tom Brady and the Chiefs today absolutely could tell somebody, shut up, stay in your lane, you'll do what you're told, or leave, or just hold out, we don't care, because some of those franchises have that power because they're so good. If people on Baltimore's defense are whining about wanting out, the organization is going to do what they want. You can figure it out on the back end. Browns don't have that. Other piece of this is Myles Garrett's pockets are deep, so they could play hardball and tell him, well, you're going to stay, and now you're looking at a holdout situation. Myles Garrett is arguably underpaid compared to some other pro athletes, what he could get at the position, but he doesn't need his next game check to not go bankrupt. It's not like you're talking about a guy on his rookie deal who wants more money or something like that. So I do think there's a path here where the Browns try to play hardball, but I think with a player of Myles Garrett's stature and with an organization as big as shambles as the Browns are, that it's just a really tough card to pull.
Yeah, man, I agree with you. I don't think this is the situation where you can play hardball with him at this point. I've heard some of those takes that people think they're gonna play hardball with him. And one of my questions I wrote down before the show was over under 3.5 weeks until Myles Garrett is traded, because I think they are going to just push this thing as fast as they can and get it over with. I just don't get how people think that they're not going to go through with this at this point. I mean, this is public. This is the best player in the NFL defensively, at least arguably. I just don't get how you don't think that he's going to get traded after that post from Ian, after everything that's going on. Uh, it's time for a rebuild. And
Yeah.
I think that's where we're at this point, whether you like it or not. And you can say goodbye to any fan favorite player that you have, myself included, with Wyatt Teller behind me.
Super
Over,
quick
by
for the
the way.
record, I would take the over.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I'm kind of at the under right now because I think they're going to move him as quick as possible because the amount of people that are going to be picking up the phone to call about Myles Garrett, regardless if they say they're not fielding offers or not. But I could be totally wrong in the same thing.
That's more of a reason not to act quickly. You play these teams against one another in this situation. A billion-dollar organization doesn't make rash decisions. I say that knowing some of the decisions that's been made by the Cleveland Browns in the past, but it would behoove them to move slowly and have all the options on the table prior to the draft than just trying to get something across the line.
Even if I had a deal in principle, I think I'd wait till the draft because anybody who's willing to give you this haul today, when people start going on the clock, will throw in a fifth or a third or whatever it takes to get the. I think you wait too, but that's why I said over. But I could be wrong.
That's a fair take. I want to know something else. Since we're kind of going down that route, what do you want to see in return for Myles Garrett? Like, if you could just be like, this is our asking price and we'll get it, what would it be? And obviously keep it realistic. Don't say 36,000 first round picks. Give me something for real.
I was listening to the radio on the way home, and I've been like checking X and some of the social media. Even the people in the know in the NFL don't know. A player of this caliber who's age 29 without a supermax kind of contract just doesn't happen very often. I mean, what was Ray Lewis worth when he was 29 or Lawrence Taylor when he was that age? It's kind of hard to put a price on. I've seen everything from a first rounder and a decent serviceable starter, a position to be named, to Ricky Williams kind of draft hauls where you got to do a first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and a first next year, plus a player. And I don't really know. Like, that's for the front office to decide. They'll pay they'll get what the market can bear, but this isn't like a third in next year's fifth. I mean, if you don't net a first round pick, bare minimum, that's an absolute miss.
What you just said, that they'll pay what the market will bear, I think is key here. He's only worth what people are willing to pay. I think that number should be high, at the very least a first round pick, and I would love to see a player. We know what we paid for Watson, but he's not a quarterback, and he is 29 years old. So what will the market bear for something like that? Normally it'd be a team like, I don't know, the Chiefs or the Lions or the Bills, a contender or a winner to try to get people across the line. They don't have as much to give. That's the problem. So you find yourself in this situation. He wants to go win a ring. He has a no trade clause, by the way, so I believe he can reject anything he doesn't want to go to. So
he does indeed.
I'm not sure on this one.
I think you might get screwed on this, but something that I just have to say is you could also saddle some baggage on there and just say, we will give you Myles Garrett and Deshaun Watson, period. And now you're out from underneath the contract. Somebody would really have to need a defender to entertain that idea, but I wanted to throw it out there.
I saw it on Twitter, and I don't think they'll do that. I think they're totally fine, especially if they're going into a rebuild, to completely eating every ounce of that Deshaun Watson cap as soon as possible now. So I don't think we're even remotely worried about if someone will take that money off our books, because it isn't going to matter the next 2 to 3 seasons if you trade Myles Garrett anyway. You want to know
Who's our quarterback? We talked about it a little today.
We're rebuilding at that point.
We still got to field a freaking team and watch this team.
Did you watch them win 3 games this year with Super Bowl aspirations?
Like, I sure was apathetic at the end.
I've watched Brady, Quinn, and
at this point, who's the star defender? Who's the corner? Because Denzel's gone. Who's the offensive line? I mean, if you're going this route, you are going full-blown rebuild, and that's all there is to it, period. There's no, oh, well, maybe we'll trade Myles and still compete next year. If you trade Myles Garrett, you are committing to being bad again to get good in the future.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
Why? How?
You talked about all the time how the Browns are a quarterback away, that we had talent that surrounded Watson, but he drugged this team down. I'm not saying that they're a playoff team or a win far playoff team. I've learned from those lessons, certainly. But to say that trading one player means all of a sudden you're a terrible team, hard disagree. We've talked about it before. As good of a player as he wasn't winning ball games on the defense. This isn't like trading Tom Brady. There's a difference.
What you're missing here, Erik, is the trickle down effect of losing Myles Garrett. If you lose Myles Garrett, you can kiss Wyatt Teller, Joel Bitonio. You can kiss Denzel Ward.
That's not true. There's things called contracts. They don't just get to up and walk. That's not how it works.
If you're going the route of getting rid of Myles Garrett, you as a team are not committing to a half-assed idea of, oh, well, we'll trade Myles, but we'll keep half the team and see what happens. That's a bad plan. If you trade Myles Garrett, you are going full-blown rebuild. You are kissing Denzel Ward goodbye. You are kissing Wyatt Teller goodbye. There's no maybe, unless you get the craziest trade of all time, and we're talking 3 first-round picks and Kyler Murray? I don't know. I'm just shooting a quarterback out there right now. And you guys both just told me you don't think that's what the market's going to be here. What I want to see, because I haven't got to say that yet, is 3 first-round picks. That's what this guy is worth at bare minimum to me. And if no one wants to pay it, then I will deal with the locker room cancer and see what happens with Myles Garrett. That's just me, period. You know, at the end of the day, you do sign a contract, Erik.
I'm in between. I don't think he would ever be a cancer.
No, I don't either. I was going to say that. And I'm in between the two of you, but I'm closer to Noah. And here's why. Erik, you're right that they have contracts. You can push their hand, but the problem is you don't have a good team to begin with. So whether they want to rebuild or they're going to wake up one day and realize it's a rebuild anyway, your roster's terrible. And if you lose a player like Myles Garrett, the free agency thing gets a little harder to convince people to come here and that you're still moving towards the Super Bowl. You have a huge cap number, and you have all kinds of problems starting to pop up that go away if you rinse and replace and start over. I don't think that, to your point, Erik, I think, yes, this team was quote unquote good enough and a quarterback away, but you lose Myles Garrett, you throw Kirk Cousins back there, you start next season 1-4. Now it gets real ugly real fast because they're going to have to blow it up midseason. So I just don't see a path where we get the Kirk Cousins and Chubb comes back healthy and we figure out how to have not Jerry Jeudy be our only good receiver and people stay healthy and Myles Garrett's gone and we can rush the pass. It just gets in the AFC North. I just don't.
No, I'm not saying we're going to be good. I'm just saying I don't think they trade away every single piece of this team.
I think they do, because if you're not going to be good,
you might as well. You already watched them tank this year by putting DTR out there. You don't think they're going to get rid of Denzel Ward and all of these other bigger names?
I think it's harder to rebuild when you have to fill 6 positions than when you have to fill 3. I think,
but you're talking about mismatched timelines at that point. Denzel Ward would be in his mid-30s by the time some of the guys you draft that you plan to get there would be good. You're filling all of those holes anyway. You might as well go get the value out of those players at that point.
And you're thinking about filling 3 of the hardest positions and most important positions in football. Because now we're back to the who's your quarterback, who's your pass rusher, who's your left tackle. We don't have any of that.
Who's your running back?
Correct. Like what I mean,
well,
and then
we could get into draft content. I'd talk about who our running back could be from rounds 1 through 7 all day if you guys want that, gentleman. On a break.
No, we don't. You know what I mean? But that makes the point, because rounds 1 through
shut down on that.
No, just not for today. But the more draft picks you have, the better better chance you have at all that going well. I hate rebuilds, man. This team's been rebuilding since 1999 with like 2 exceptions.
How about this? How about we send Myles Garrett and our next 7 first-round picks to Houston for CJ Stroud?
I'm in.
Let's just try it again.
Let's just do it again. I'm ready. Brother. I am ready. So,
oh boy,
this is all fine and dandy. Do you guys think there is any chance in any living hell? Give me a percentage that Myles Garrett is on this roster for the 2025 season. A percentage.
25.
25. I'd put it at 15. So we're all in like the same amount of range, basically.
I will say
This is-
this, though. I don't feel as doom and gloom. Part of it, and insert your favorite old guy comment here, but I've seen players come and go, and I've seen
My
it.
favorite, real quick, John, my favorite old guy comment is John is old, period. Just so you know.
Yeah, Noah was a real creative student.
Glad we waited for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys.
No,
One time.
I've seen it before, especially with the Browns, but with all kinds of players. The Cavs, we had LeBron and had to tear it down with Kevin Love and then come back. With the Guardians, they'll just fire sale anybody, no matter how good the team is or isn't. And with the Browns, unfortunately, any good players end up, that you kind of get attached to. Joe Hayden goes to play for the Steelers. It's just what happens. I do think the silver lining is that Myles Garrett commands a haul, and if you're going to rebuild, you can get a ton for him. You could also get other players who are young who you might have, like taking a flyer on a player like Justin Fields doesn't seem so crazy now because this team's not going to compete next year. I do think that for the haul that you get for Myles Garrett, I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment and forget what I said 2 weeks ago. Myles Garrett has been a stud on a team that won 1 game, 0 game, 3 games, 2 games at different points in his career. Not all that much is changing in my perspective. I had this team winning right now 4 games next year, 2 to 4 games next year. They're still a 2 to 4 win team with or without Myles Garrett. But if we get a haul of picks, there's a bright horizon. Now the problem is, if it's still Stefanski and this front office running the draft, where's the confidence come from in all the picks you get? Now we're going to take shit players and have to do this. That's where it starts getting real sad real fast. But Myles Garrett by himself meant a lot to Cleveland because of the kind of player he is and the talent he is. I don't think he adds wins or subtracts wins if he stays or leaves next year.
I disagree a little bit on that, and we've talked about that before on the show, and I don't think that's really the point of what we're getting at here at this point anymore. I said point twice. Here's what I came to. I was at the gym before this, got a little quick workout and thinking about what I was going to talk about here as we had our emergency boardroom. I think in our minds as Cleveland fans, we were trying to figure out how to put the square in the circular hole to fix everything and have everything be all hunky-dory dandy in the next 2 years. When the writing on the wall, in my opinion, ever since the Deshaun Watson trade failed, was this team needs to just go full-blown rebuild. It's not there anymore. You fucked up. You traded Baker. Myles Garrett wants out, this, that, and the other. That's fine. I'd rather accept our fate now in February and be excited for the draft and seeing young players next year instead of having my mindset in a place where, we might go 10-7 and make the wild card and get blown out by the Texans by 40 again.
Hold on. I have 2 questions for you then.
Go ahead.
The first question is, if you thought we were 1 piece away when we made the Deshaun move, why are we so far away from that now? And my second question is, if we're full-blown rebuild, which is fine, clearly we are, what is your timeline on that? When are we a playoff team again?
First things first. What has changed? Well, Myles Garrett doesn't want to be on the roster anymore. Deshaun Watson did not work out. And you are moving in a direction where the team is not happy with the player or with the front office, coaches, whoever it might be. And instead of us being in la la land like we were before last season, thinking that Deshaun Watson might be a fit and we could win 10, 12 games, it's time to just move in a direction where we start this thing fresh. And we got some good moments and we screwed it up, period.
And I would piggyback on that.
Timeline realistically, real quick, John. Timeline realistically is like 3 to 5 years with any rebuild, which I know no one wants to hear, but that's where we are as a fan base. That's where we are as a franchise.
With ownership, rebuilding, and being a playoff team in 3 to 5 years, I don't see it, is my point.
I'm being optimistic
anywhere with
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I don't. I think 3 to 5 years is exactly right.
That's what it should be for a well-managed team.
The other thing that you said is, why were they 1 quarterback away when they made the move? Wasn't that 4 seasons ago now?
That's fair.
Nick Chubb blew out his
Doesn't feel
knee.
that
Denzel
long,
Ward
but-
gets concussed every other week. Grant Delpit plays hard.
We don't know if JOK is ever going to play a
Sometimes.
game again. There's a
I mean,
lot
there's
of
a
stuff
lot.
that has changed.
Yeah,
the team's
a ton of
gotten
stuff
old,
is.
period.
Yep. Our window is closing. We said 3 to 4 year window when we had Baker. We looked, a bad call and an awful fourth down away from the AFC Championship, and we said now's the window. And this guy has been a complete and total train wreck. Deshaun, that is, and everybody else is 4 years older. I mean, people don't play till they're 38 in the NFL.
No, that's fair. It still feels like a team, and maybe I am living 4 years ago, that you bring in Kirk Cousins and he strings some wins together, and all of a sudden it's looking like the Flacco year, and maybe we can make the playoffs. Maybe that's unrealistic. It just feels like they could do that, but
I don't think it's unrealistic. I think the Flacco year, we got our doors blown off in the first round of the playoffs by Houston. If that's the ceiling, you don't rebuild for that with an old team that's, by the way, had the highest payroll in the history of the NFL. Cap money, dead cap, all in last year. I don't want to get excited for a team that at its ceiling is going to win 10 games and lose bad in the first round and not host a playoff game. And I don't think they're there either. I would disagree that they're there, but even if they were, I don't. Yeah, go ahead, Noah.
I think this is really the nail in the coffin when it comes to what's going on with the Cleveland Browns. And you can be upset and you can try to cope and form it. Oh, what if we get Kirk Cousins and stuff? And listen, I'm there. And maybe this is me being the pessimist for once and Erik trying to hold on to that little bit of hope that I tend to do on this show. It's rebuild time, guys. And it's time to accept our fate of another 3 to 5 plus years of shitty football. And that's what
if we went back 2 years, Erik, I think if you go back 2 years, we just relived the Flacco year. I give you a list of 5 teams in the AFC you're not better than. You're not beating the Chiefs.
I get it. It's not being an optimist. It's that we still have to field a football team. And this season was worse than 0-16. I think a lot of people have said it, and I agree with it. So as fans, why should we go out there and watch a team that we know for the next 4 years is going to have a losing record? It's tough to be a fan right now.
We shouldn't. Put the pressure on the Haslams. Cancel the season tickets. Don't buy the merch. That's totally fine. Yeah. That should be the answer. There's people potentially protesting right now as we're talking here on live.
Thank God for the Buckeyes. Because
that and the Cavaliers and the Guardians
and
too.
The Guardians. Even the Monsters.
They might not pay anybody, but at least they're fun.
I was going to say, throw the Monsters in there too. Why not?
Yeah. But no, Erik, to your point too, I do think that it's not – you said who wants to watch a team lose for 4 years. You don't lose for 4 years in a rebuild. You said, when will you be back to a Super Bowl contender? And the idea is 3 to 5 years. I think
playoff team, yeah.
Or playoff team, yeah. It's not I don't think this team's going to suck for 4 more years. I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Because that's all we've done with the exception of about 3 years since 99.
If the rebuild goes like a rebuild's supposed to go, you don't count on sucking for 4 years. Do I think that the Browns will be good in 4 years from now? Yeah, I don't have a lot.
That's my point. I don't trust as Noah said, the brain trust over there. No. I know Barry went to Harvard, but maybe he should go back because it's not working.
But they suck. They suck now. That's the problem. I mean, you're like, why would you rebuild? And it's like,
no. I'm not saying don't rebuild.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying. Basically, what I'm doing is venting my frustration and saying, have a fucking plan. And you know what? It's time that you say what that plan is to fans because I'm just sick of it.
And I agree with you on that point because that has been the most frustrating thing about this brain trust is us not knowing what's going on. Well, last week it sounded like Myles Garrett was staying here and you kind of had a plan and you were going to be able to do the shit where you had the cards close to your chest and didn't matter anymore. Well, now it matters because Myles Garrett went on national social media, I guess, Ian Rappaport, and embarrassed the hell out of you as a GM, embarrassed the hell out of you as a franchise. And now we, as the fans who invest our money, our hard-earned dollars, our time, our weekends into this franchise, deserve some damn answers. Not Jimmy Haslam trotting out and saying, oh, yeah, we got to be better. And there's always next week. We got to pick it up. No, fuck that. It's time to do better.
Exactly. And that's that's part and parcel too that goes along with if you're a young kid entering the draft, who the fuck would want to come here? I wouldn't. I don't care if you're the best player, the mid player, whatever. Your career could be destroyed in this city. Why even try?
It has been a frustrating couple of weeks, months, years being Browns fans. And we've put a lot of energy into this team and we'll continue to do it here on the show. We'll talk about the mock draft. We'll talk about the best fits. I think all of our criticisms are well deserved to this team because that's what they have put us in after 26 years of misery since they've come back in 99.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you guys want to touch on with this Myles Garrett requesting a trade thing before we wrap the show up, man?
No. Next time we get together for lunch, I'll bring you the best take chain because your whole best take about taking everything down and why would we go through this shit again with Kirk Cousins next year? I'd rather be excited for the draft now than excited for a 4-win football team next year. You took the words out of my mouth and you said it better than I could have. I think that's where we're at. I do want to say, like, Myles Garrett, I still think deserves kudos for how he's handling this. I cannot blame a guy. He's not saying, screw Cleveland, or I got took my talents to South Beach. He's saying, I tried, I worked hard, I love you guys. I'm just exhausted and can't do it anymore. And I think everybody who's ever been at a bad job or been doing something frustrating gets it. This is not on Myles Garrett. This is a full-blown indictment on the Cleveland Browns as an organization. And until they fix whatever the hell is going on there, none of us have a reason to believe that they're going to do anything but suck for the foreseeable future.
I would just
anybody that I've seen online, Eric, I'll let you go. I'm sorry. Anybody that I've seen online upset about Myles Garrett and frustrated with Myles Garrett, the person, for this, you're wrong. Period. You're wrong. You are.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't care. You're wrong. Go ahead, Eric.
I just want to know how, as Cleveland Browns fans, we wound up with the dumbest owners in the entire league. I mean, the Haslams make the Raiders look like geniuses, and that's impressive. The fact that we have to continually go through this as fans, they do not deserve the team. And I will say to all Browns fans out there, don't buy gear. If you want to go to the games, fine. But do not sink your money into more pieces of memorabilia from this stupid-ass team. They might change the orange again to try to get you to. Don't. Because until they can give us something, they do not deserve it.
Gentlemen, it's been fun. I want to say...
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, yeah. Just the last thing we said before we went live, I looked at Noah and I said, is there a single team in the NFL that has it worse than us? And Eric and Noah, without missing a beat, said, absolutely not. I said, maybe, I could throw Panthers or the Jets out there, but even they have reason to hope more than we do.
Maybe was it the Giants owner's son or grandson making decisions?
They have the league neighbors at least.
Yeah. But it still does not feel as bad.
And sexy Dexy, baby.
And it's not a football town in New York. I mean, we live and die football in this state, which makes it so much harder.
I want to shout out Tim Lyons real quick because I think he summed it up best in what I'm thinking. I'd cut Watson, trade Myles, and get those picks, rebuild, fire the GM, build for the future. Maybe not fire the GM. I don't know what that would even look like at this point because we're already in the process of the draft. I have nothing else left to say, gentlemen. Do you guys?
Okay.
Well, this emergency meeting has been brought to you by, yes, of course, we still got to get an ad read in here. D&D Meadery. Use code @theoffice CLE for 5% off. And you buy 2 bottles, you get this beautiful, nice shot glass. So go check them out. Delicious mead. John kills bottles left, right, and center because of how good it is. And
where's yours, John?
I drank it. I didn't know it was show alcohol. I thought I love honey, man. This was delicious. I'm telling you guys, open yours and let's all get 3 more as a good welcome to the partnership because that is some good stuff.
Amen. Listen, we want to thank you guys for tuning in, and don't think we forgot. We have a jersey winner to announce. We have picked a winner, so we are going to announce it right now. Guys, can you give me a drum roll with like your mouth or something? Coach Raymond Conley at Raymond Conley has won our Donovan Mitchell jersey giveaway. I will tweet out about this as soon as I get a chance to. and shoot you a DM on both at the office as well as mine. We'll get this thing whole sorted out to pick you up a jersey. And yeah, congrats on winning, man. Shouts out to you. Gentlemen, it's been, well, I would say it's been a pleasure. It has been a pleasure. I enjoy talking sports with you. I don't enjoy talking about these kind of sports with you. But thank you for joining us at the office. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the download button. If you're listening to the audio only version of the show, check us out on all socials. You can see it down below at the Office CLE, TikTok, Instagram, X, Facebook, you name it, we got it. Have a great day or night. Try to keep up. Cleveland fans, we appreciate y'all.